Welcome to The Dust Settles. This is a show dedicated to real conversations with people trying to, what did we write down?
Control their own...
Take charge of their world. But I wrote it better. Doesn't matter. We figured out a name. This is our first episode with a name. Today we have Nigel Baxter on.
Nigel's an entrepreneur. He's run a few businesses already, and he's on to his newest venture, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about media production and starting podcasts. So hopefully you enjoy. All right, Nigel Baxter. Thank you so much for doing this. Matt and I are really excited to talk to you, and I know this is still fairly new to everybody, but I think we'll be able to get through. I really wanted to have you on because of the business that you're running now. Also, you're entrepreneurial by nature. You've had a couple different run-ins with owning a franchise, and I wanted to talk to you about that. I know that you're also into video and I guess production work, and I think we could have a lot of fun talking about that as well. So yeah. So I guess I wanted to get started by just sort of letting everybody know what you do right now. So you're a franchisee or owner of EverLine Coatings.
EverLine Coatings, yeah.
Right. And so EverLine Coatings, tell us a little bit about that.
So EverLine Coatings started in 2012 out of Calgary. Basically, the owner saw a need for a better line, like a 21st century line painting company, which sounds kind of crazy, but there is a need. We've found it. Since then, Calgary's continued to grow and we've expanded across Canada. So we're, as far west as Vancouver, and we've got 2 in Toronto currently, so as far east as Toronto. And
how do you run into this guy? Like, how do you meet a guy that's trying to franchise or create a franchise around line painting?
So he actually found me, and it just so happened I was looking. So I was working retail at the time, and he's an old college pro guy, which I'm sure we'll get into. So he was ex-college pro, and he was basically reaching out through his networks to just kind of feel around and see who would be interested. And I, sure enough, like I said, doing retail, I was like, I'll take a look at this.
What kind of retail?
Absolutely. Clothing.
Okay.
Yeah, so I shouldn't say clothing. No, clothing, it's ski, snowboard, bikes. So
In Calgary?
No, in Saskatoon. Oh. So it was actually out of bounds, just down the street.
So when you say this guy was ex-college pro as well, is there with that business, is there sort of like a ceiling for how old you can be to be involved as a franchisee, or how does that work?
Not technically, but most people will get out once they.
Are there a couple rogues that are in their 40s or 50s and running these big college pro businesses?
Not that old, but our newest guy out of Toronto actually just left college pro, and I think he's 36. So that's probably the oldest I've ever heard. But a lot of people will move up on the back end, so up through management. Okay. So kind of some of the rock stars will take that route when they leave university. They'll then coach the new franchisees through it, and then from there you can continue to move up, should you choose to. So
give us a bit more context around how big these, just for my curiosity, how big does a college pro franchise get? What's the biggest one you've heard of, and what was yours?
I think the biggest I've heard of was, and you got to remember too, these are 4-month seasons, so that puts these numbers into perspective. I think the biggest I've heard of is 600,000 to 700,000 in 4 months. Wow. Which is, that's rare though. Most people, typically your
That's
first
just
year,
revenue, not profit.
Yeah, correct. Okay. Yeah. So that.
And where would that be? Where would that be done in Ontario, likely, or?
Calgary actually had one guy that was doing those sort of numbers. Bigger cities. The biggest I know of in Saskatoon, I believe, was 450 in a summer. So, and I never hit those kind of numbers. I think I did 115 my first year and 235 my second. So quite a bit smaller, but it was enough for me. From a business perspective, and you've never ran a business in your life, so it's everything just hits you like a I had like a brick wall, and all of a sudden you're cold calling in January. You're doing your first quotes in February when nobody wants to talk about painting. We've got 2 feet of snow on the ground still. I'll never forget those quotes. And then, you got to hire people all of a sudden. You've got to manage crews. You've got to deal with paint credit and making sure you don't run out. It's a really good system that really just throws you into the mix.
So, and you were juggling school with that?
Correct. Yeah. So I think 5 classes my first year, it's mostly second semester. So that first year I had 5, and then I learned my lesson and did 4 the second year.
Okay. So what were you in school for?
Commerce.
Okay. Majoring in?
Management.
Okay, cool.
So did you find actually College Pro was like the school of hard knocks? Like you learned more doing that? And
100. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I learned so much more doing College Pro than I ever did in school. I'm not a very studious guy to begin with, so that didn't help. But just having the experience was, I learned exponential learner, right? So you get thrown in the fire, you got to find your way out. Whereas school,
So are there credits or anything like that involved with
nothing?
Participating?
No, just.
And what does it cost?
So it's there's no franchise fee because it's designed for students, so they know you don't have any money. The flip side of that, though, is very high royalties, so they take a large chunk of each project. I can't remember the exact numbers now, but so I would say it probably took me, you can start pretty modestly. Like I had a production vehicle, which was like a 1994 Dodge Caravan, had like the wood grain on the inside, and I just ripped the seats out, and it worked perfect. I put a dinky ladder rack on top, and we all just stack ladders too high to be safe, but you just got to move crews. So, and then from there you just need a couple ladders, a couple crew kits, which is just, scrapers, paint brushes, rollers, pretty simple, inexpensive stuff.
And is that all up to you, or do you get anything outside of the name and their process?
It's very systemized. So they've got crew kit systems. They've got what they recommend a first-year franchisee would buy, and then there's multiple training sessions. So they call them TSA, TSB, TSC, which is training session A, B, C. And so the first 2 are very theoretical, sales, marketing, that sort of stuff. The second one's a little bit of production, more marketing, more sales, because you're really getting into the sales season. That'd be kind of, middle of March-ish. And then right before you start painting, you actually paint a house. And for a lot of people, that's the first house they've ever painted, which is kind of scary because, you're then, 1 week you're learning how to paint a house, and then the next week you're teaching your crew how to paint a house. So I fortunately had a year of painting experience under my belt, which helped a lot.
So you were an expert?
I don't know about an expert, but I was better than some, for sure. So I think that helped a lot in terms of quality and producing jobs faster right away. But yeah, for a lot of people, it's 1 week you're learning how to paint a house, and the next week you're training how to paint a house. So
what's the exit strategy on something like this? When you're done, what constitutes as done? You finish school, you graduate, are they get out of here, go get a real job, go do something else?
No, they'll keep you on if you want to keep going. I find for most people, though, by the time you're done school, you're ready to move on.
You don't want to touch a paintbrush.
Yeah, that's exactly
Ever
it.
again.
Residential, because most of it's residential painting, and residential painting is a grind. You're dealing with their biggest asset, their home, right? People are very picky.
It's warranty work and callbacks are just.
Yeah, and that's all dealt with from the College Pro side. So you'll be dealing sometimes with past franchisees' warranty work, and that's rare, but it does happen. But they have to maintain a consistent brand, even though the people change every year or every couple years.
And so the book of business, your past clients, that goes back to College Pro then? They own that list, or?
Yes, they have it all through internal software.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm sure I could dig it up somewhere, but.
Yeah.
What do you think of the model of it?
I think it's really good, but I think you have to be really careful. You can really get in over your head really fast, and you don't always have the support you need to get you through that, because like I mentioned, you're learning everything for the first time, and you're managing school, and like you've never dealt with that kind of capacity before. That's what really crushed me in my second year, was just the massive growth and not really knowing how to handle it. And you're like, I was 21 at the time, like probably a lot of these. In fact, not probably, there was a lot of these. Just stuff like that,
He's talking about beer if you're listening to the podcast.
Oh yeah. Sorry, for those that aren't watching.
Pointing at the books? No.
Yeah, for those
For the audio
not
only
watching,
version.
it's beer. I think that it's a really well proven system. People know the brand, so you can get really busy really fast. And before you know it, you've just got so much on your plate, you don't know what to do with it. And I think that's where you run into quality issues or mental challenges. Like it's just too much sometimes. So
you're saying your business doubled from the first to second year?
Yeah,
or first to
just
second
about
season?
doubled. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's partially due to just things clicking the second year, right? Like the system, you know what you're doing, you've got the knowledge, you can talk about house painting for days if you had to. So
do you want to?
No. And I still get a lot of I'm like the go-to painter. They're like, hey Nigel, you know how to paint? Come on, we'll have a few beers and come over and paint. And before you know it, you're putting in like 14-hour days.
Right.
For a few beers.
House painting's a grind. Yeah, those that do it, kudos to them. I was ready to get out by the end of my second year. Sure. Yeah.
And so you finished school, and you've ended
I
up.
actually had 1 year left before I got out. Yeah.
Okay.
So you did 3 years before you finished school?
So I painted my very first summer in university, and then I owned a franchise for 2 after that. Yeah. And then my fourth summer, me and my buddy had a little pressure washing company.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, we realized that there was a need, because you pressure wash a house before you paint it. And so my good buddy we lived together at the time, he'd been a college pro production manager, which is sort of like one step below a franchisee. So the bigger companies hire production managers to help manage production so that they can focus more on sales. And so we both knew the system very well, and we knew that you got to wash houses before you paint them. So me and my buddy just drank a lot of beers and washed a lot of houses for College Pro, which actually was really cool. We called it Tsunami Services. We had. I wish I had like a photo of the logo, but we got our friend to drop this like tuna with like a Hawaiian shirt on and like chest hair and a golden pressure washing gun, and we actually sent that out to like 500 houses like in a mailer, because we were kind of looking for more work. And we're like, how did we not get any work off those? Like 500, somebody's got to need a house washed. And looking back on it, it was totally the logo. You pull this thing out, like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Well, I've seen now there's College Pro window washers now as well. So did that exist when you started this, or is that relatively new?
No, it did. I think it's been around almost as long as the painting. They funnel people through it who maybe they don't think could quite handle or don't want the pressure of the painting side.
Okay.
It's sort of the same model, but a lot less sales. Much simpler, like you do cold calling, like door-to-door knocking, and you do the estimate on site. You just look at the windows and say, okay, great, this is so much, and people book on the site, but a lot smaller average job size, and just a smaller business, more manageable for a lot of people.
I would assume there's lots of different services that could be provided through that model. Surprised there isn't. Are there more of those, or
what would it be like? I mean, I assume the model's based off of it's like a quick skill to learn.
Yeah, exactly. That's the key.
A good enough quality where it's acceptable to sell, but
yeah, that's the thing with painting is you like within a couple weeks you're a pretty good painter. Like you've kind of seen everything, you know how to tackle different situations. You're comfortable on ladders. But I agree. There's probably a lot of other services that could be modeled that way. I don't know why I'm trying to think. There's a few different painting ones. I don't know why that model's stuck, but.
Well, let's talk about money, because I'm actually curious, compared to another job you would have, an opportunity at that time of your life to have, let's say, was the potential to earn in those 4 months just so much higher? Yeah,
much, much higher. Good profit margin in painting. Like if you can stick to it, you're probably looking at, and after royalties, but you're probably making like 15-18% like net on it. So like pretty good. But brings me to another huge issue with college pros. They don't teach you how to spend that money or take care of it. And that's what most of us did, is we just blew it. You know, we didn't know how to manage our money. But yeah, the earning potential was quite a bit higher, but you also, I mean, you work 12 hours a day for a lot of the summer. So yeah.
They're hoping university is going to help you figure out the money management.
I think so.
Maybe?
Yeah, I think so. But I'm not sure that they did either.
Yeah.
So yeah, I made a few mistakes. I learned some good lessons in that portion as well, at money management.
For sure.
So who actually handled the cash? Like, did they?
No, me.
Like okay, like, so the entire job was sent to you. Were you in charge of also paying the paint store for supplies?
Oh yeah, 100%. Had to do payroll.
That's where, yeah. So I assume people could get into trouble, like overspending all the money and then owe them tens of thousands.
Yeah, very much so. Most people make money. The model, I think, is sort of designed to do, I think you need to do about 75 to 80,000 a year. That's maybe changed since I did it, but to break even. So there's some upfront costs with College Pro as well that need to be paid for. That's like the training sessions and stuff like that. And then after that, but yeah, you've got to make sure that your paint account gets paid, your guys get paid. That's number one, of course, always. And then you've also got to, I think they directly withdrew the royalties, smart on their part, because they probably wouldn't have seen a lot of those. But even paying your taxes, like, and making sure you keep up with your GST payments quarterly, or, you know, that sort of stuff. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, you're learning a lot, hey?
Tons.
Filing GST, PST returns.
Yep.
You got all the problems of being an entrepreneur, except it's not your own thing.
Yeah, except technically when you decide to leave, College Pro still owns it, and they just pass it on to the next guy or girl. So, yeah.
Oh. So now you're running a new business that's similar in the sense that you still use paint.
Correct.
Now you're painting roads?
Roads, parking lots primarily.
Yeah, cool. So this guy, this guy that started the company that you're now a franchise owner of, like, do you know how big his operation was?
Like in the last couple years?
Well, like you said that he used to do College Pro as well, right?
Oh, you mean in College Pro? Yeah, he was one of the rock stars.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which gave me a lot of confidence actually when it came time to buy into this franchise, because I had a lot of connections and I could kind of get a good sense of who he was. But yeah, he was one of the rock stars doing like 500, 600, 700,000 a summer.
Well, it's pretty cool. Like he's clearly found an area that was obviously in need. Like it's clearly a service that's needed. And College Pro, that's nationwide, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So,
actually, it's North America. It's all the way through the States as well. So,
him, like, I would assume all the franchisee owners for this new company, they're all ex-College Pro people, or?
All of them but two.
Okay.
And one of them is, he's an ex-employee of Calgary, so he knows the line painting side very well. So he was sort of a natural fit. He had to learn the sales component and stuff like that. But he, in terms of operations, the guy's a rock star. So, and then the newest guy actually in Winnipeg is really exciting. He's a firefighter. So full-time firefighter, and then he's also going to own EverLine. I'm really excited about him because he's the true test. If he can pull it off, you don't need to be a ex-College Pro franchisee to make it work, which I don't think you need to be, but Simon in Winnipeg will be the true tell.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you were saying that like there was a lot of like training documents and like processes that you had to follow that you were privy to once you became a franchisee at College Pro. Did you find the same experience? Like, did he already have that stuff lined up for you, like when you started your new venture?
Very similar. He's moved more towards it in the last like 2 years. When I got in, it was pretty, like, I was the first like real franchisee to buy in. So they did a test site in Edmonton that went well, but it was funded by Calgary. He now owns it and is doing phenomenally. But so I was the first like real buy-in franchisee. And it was pretty rough start. Yeah, but I mean, he's just constantly refining it, so it's getting better and better every year.
And I think, like, we had a conversation a while ago. You were telling me that one of the benefits of being a part of this is Now, the guy that founded this company, he's going out and bidding on national projects where there might be like site locations like all over Canada, and he's using all of his franchisee or all of his affiliates to finish and complete these jobs.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Really cool. Yeah, we've had for the last few years Home Depot. We do a lot of work with Walmart, Lowe's, Rona, but the last year we had 7-Eleven, which was 500 and some stores across Canada, which was a real learning experience for all of us. And we didn't have anybody in Winnipeg, so I took care of Saskatchewan and Manitoba. It was a battle. We didn't get it back this year. We got underbid, as is the nature of the beast, but we learned a lot of national contracts there. They sound really good, like when you think about them, like, oh great, like, just guaranteed work, but they're a lot of work. They're very demanding clients. They expect a lot.
Sure. So is this going to be a race to the bottom, like with your pricing? Like how do you guys ensure that you're not always, securing great nationwide contracts and then being underbid the next year?
Yeah, we're working on that right now. We've got a couple things going for us. So we've and the number one is that a little bit of background, traffic paint wears really fast. So you typically repaint a lot every year. You'll notice on our streets right now, like there's no lines. They're totally gone. So what we've formulated is what we call durables, and it's a 2-part MMA product. So it actually lasts 3 to 4 times as long as traffic paint. And as far as we know, we're the only ones in North America that have a sprayable version of it. So it takes a special machine and a special paint, but that's one of our key differentiators because traffic paint, typically you'll put it down in the spring, and by the fall on like roadways, it's almost gone. And by the time you run a plow across it all winter, by the spring, there's nothing left.
So this is like a Canadian or winterized nation problem.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it'll have application North America wide because there's quite a demand for something that lasts a little bit longer. But that's one of our big sort of talking points right now that we're trying to push. And then also too, we just have systems in place that make us a lot better than the typical line painter. So, even bringing technology in, we use a lot of Google to simplify our operations, or to have ops reports every single night, so that when I wake up in the morning, I know exactly what my guys got done. I can relay that to the client if they want. Just better communication. Yeah. So
is that like Google Apps for Work that you're using? Or what do you mean?
We use Google Forms primarily for that. So G Suite, I guess.
Yeah.
And basically they fill it out. It's a good way to track their hours, paint usage, but it's also a really good way to, if the client wants to know at 8 a.m. how much of their mall got done last night, I know, at 6 a.m. when I wake up. So there's a few things like that. Another big one, and this one's really simple, is just answering the phone. A lot of service-based companies don't answer the phone. Sometimes, yeah.
I'm also doing the thing that I do.
That's exactly, and that was going to be my next point, is that the model's designed to hire painters to paint overnight so that I can be on the phone during the day, which is very rare in line painting. Typically it'll be an owner-operator, so they'll operate and run the machines all night, and then they're sleeping, hopefully. Till 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then maybe they get a couple things done and they're back on the machines at 9 p.m. So that's another big one that really separates us, surprisingly.
So you're more geared to scale. Like you're looking to scale for sure.
Yeah, big time.
So currently, what's the total size now of people you actually have?
So there's personally or on a national.
This is national.
National. There's 8 of us franchisees.
And then people on how many painters are there?
I'll have 3 this year, but they're, it's all over the place. Calgary and Edmonton, those will be our 2 biggest. They've got 16 and 12, I think, this year, and Vancouver will probably have 3 or 4. Lots of us are a little bit smaller than those guys. Obviously, they've been at it for a little bit longer. So there's probably 50, 60, 70 painters across the country. We're getting there. Yeah.
And what would you say your do you have a 5-year goal for your franchise?
Well, I thought initially when I bought it, I'd be 5 years and I'd build it and I'd be out. That was sort of the initial dream. I'm starting to realize that it's going to take a lot longer to build it to the level I'd be happy with. And I kind of enjoy it. It's a really good business. I really like the guys that we're working with, like the other franchisees are awesome. Probably by year 5, now that I've had a few years to kind of, I'd like to have a shop and an operation in Regina as well. We do a lot of work all over the province. So having a shop here and a shop in Regina would be really nice. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the main goals.
So,
well, this is my first time meeting Nigel in person tonight, so.
That's right.
So a lot of this is interesting new information for me. Dustin's mentioned a little bit about you to me, but yeah, so.
Hopefully good things.
The fact you're even willing to come here, you're talking really well.
I was stoked.
Yeah?
I love podcasts. So to me, I was just like, no way I can come on one.
Yeah.
Sign me up. 100%.
We had Nigel and his wife over for supper a little while ago, and I was sort of bashful about telling you about what I was doing, what we were up to, but you were really enthusiastic about it, and you were telling me that like you've thought about doing something similar, and I thought it'd be a really cool thing for us to talk about, because like we're only a few episodes into this, and
right.
we're still stumbling and trying to figure it all out.
This is number 8, but yeah, only 3 of them are online now. So
yeah, we're working on it.
It's a work in progress. That's all.
And like you do some videography stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about the hobby first off.
So it just started, I don't know, probably 5 years ago. I just started taking photos. Actually during College Pro, I just needed something else to do to take my mind off work all the time. So I picked up a camera. I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And it's just sort of spiraled. I've bought copious amounts of camera. I'm sure it's a deep hole. It's
the deepest.
It is the deepest hole. Everything's so expensive, but you always want more. You're like, you could just use that one other lens, or a better mic or something like that. So in the last, I took a lot of photos, and I sort of got away from it, and I realized that I really enjoy it, but I needed something new. So that's when I sort of hopped on the video train, and I've realized that is a whole nother monster. Whew.
A bigger monster for sure.
Yeah.
It feels like that's sort of the way that we're moving as far as like digital communication.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Static is sort of done. Like everybody can make video now, and like you also you do some drone stuff too, right?
Yep. Yeah, I've had a drone for almost a year. That thing is a blast. I'm sure you've got
I have a crashed drone in my closet there.
You've probably crashed more drones than I've flown.
Only one.
Yeah, they're super fun, and just the aspect of of flight, adding that to your video is it's still in that phase where it's kind of like, I think, exciting people. I'm sure that'll wear down as there's more and more drones and companies make them more accessible to the masses. But that perspective, I just think is so cool.
Yeah, well done. It's very good for storytelling.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think it's exotic. It's still exotic.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Yeah, people are still like, you see a drone shot and you're just like, that's a drone shot, or at least that's what I do.
Yeah. I love it. I have a hard time with it sometimes. Like, I used to live in Willow Grove, and every now and again, it only happened a couple times, but I'd see drones flying around in my backyard, or over my neighbor's backyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I actually went outside once and figured out who was flying it. I was like, yo, turn that shit off. Take that out of the neighborhood.
Was it the noise, or was it the fact that you thought maybe they were watching you?
Yeah, it was. It felt like it was really intrusive, and it felt like I'm sure there's no pros flying drones for fun in residential neighborhoods. I'm sure it's a bunch of other yahoos like me, or like you guys. Well, maybe not so much you guys, but people that are just flying for fun and just got a new toy.
Yeah.
That could be a little dangerous. And yeah, it's loud. It's disruptive. Doesn't need to be there.
Yeah. I don't.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys.
I was going to say, I'm about 50-50. I try to take it out of the city when I'm using it most of the time. I mean, obviously, with regulations and stuff like that too, you've got to be a little bit more careful, and I know that's changing.
Either follow the rules or keep it secret.
Right.
So the rules getting a little lighter now?
They never enforce them. I was legit with mine.
Yeah.
So mine actually, I crashed downtown on those cranes.
Oh, really? On the river landing buildings?
Yeah, on one of those, I crashed it on it hit the cable actually, which No one got hurt. I just broke my drone. No one got hurt.
Yeah.
Nothing was broken. I was like, this is best case scenario. I was insured, so it was okay, but I was freaking out. And
I bet.
I went over to the job site. I can't remember what company. I think it was like Leadcore was doing it.
Yeah, Leadcore is doing that. Yeah, that building.
So I went, I filed their incident report. They did like their own investigation. I have to phone into Transport Canada if something like that happens. I just like went to my like certificate. So I was doing everything legit, thank God.
Good call.
But I reported it and they're like, so all we want to know is what are you going to do so it doesn't happen again?
That's it.
And I'm going to watch it better.
No more cranes.
So, and then they're like, okay. And then within a week I was good to fly. So
that's good to hear, because I just never really know what the consequences like would be. I mean, obviously if it had fallen on somebody, it would have been a lot worse, but
yeah,
it didn't. Were you working like for Leadcore at the time, or was it?
No, it was for the I got a contract with Graham to do all the bridges.
Oh, nice.
And it was literally like the last flyover I was ever going to do for them.
That's when it'll happen. Murphy's Law.
I think I did it 20 times. I got really complacent and I went just that little bit further to get a shot because they had it all landscaped and I was going further than normal.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I was just like, I didn't have my eyes on it. You're supposed to have your eyes on it, and I didn't at that moment. And then all of a sudden the video cuts off and I see on my little GPS thing, the arrow's like spinning. I'm like, oh no. And then so I go, it didn't shut off right away. So I could still see where it was. I was like, okay, I kind of figured it out. I was like, I was sure it was on the job site. And so I just went in, they're like, oh, that was your drone.
Oh, we found that drone.
I was like, yeah. Then they were like, they even took the memory card out before they gave it to me. And
really?
Yeah. I was like, whatever, go hard. But
interesting.
Did you get that content back? Or the memory card?
Yeah, I got everything back.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
They wanted to do their own investigation. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see it, who cares?
Do it.
Yeah, go for it. But just make sure you don't delete anything. And
yeah, well, and the iPad's like cached like a file. I actually could see more on there than that last video they couldn't get off and watch. Mm-hmm. Like I could.
Right.
But they could have got it. You have to like fix it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But anyway, I had the drone version, but like I wasn't looking. I was looking at the bridge while I was flying it. So.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That is one of my worst nightmares. Is just the like blip, and then you just can't see it, and you just know it's just falling out of the sky. Anytime I'm over water, that's the first thing that jumps into my mind. I'm like, I'm not getting this thing back if it goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's gone, and they're not crazy expensive, but they're not cheap.
Yeah.
Like I just have like the little Mavic Air. And so like that's like it's $1,100, like a tough day.
Have you seen those little ones that apparently like you can wear something and then they just follow you, and snowboarders will use them to get footage of them snowboarding? Really?
Like it tracks you?
Yeah.
Well, there's like a lot of like
2019
Kickstarter videos there that's not even real. Like sometimes. I don't know about that one, but
yeah. Well, I don't have much more content for you other than what I just told you. I saw a great promo video for it. It looked sweet.
I would say the one that you have is like probably the most practical and functional. Because like let's say you're snowboarding, you can snowboard really fast, so something small just would have a hard time keeping up. Where like
what would the speed of these things be?
This could go 60.
Yeah, I think 60.
Oh, that's sick.
In sport mode, I think 60. And it has a tracking feature. It's a little hit or miss, like whether it'll like lock onto you. You'd show it like what you want it to lock onto, and then it follows you. Like I've done it with a car once just to try it out. It worked. A snowboarder might be a little trickier, and you're darting around the hill and in and out of you wouldn't be going in and out of the trees.
Other people though.
That too, yeah.
And the cables on the chairlift, I would.
Oh yeah, cables.
Cables.
Gotta watch for the cables. We learned one lesson today. It's watch out for the cables.
Or just watch the drone.
That too, yeah. Sometimes you can't though. You're trying to watch what it's filming.
Yeah.
Like I need to see the drone's perspective.
So tell me, you kind of said it's a hobby, photography and video now. Mm-hmm. Have you turned it into more than just a hobby?
I've done a little bit of work, mostly just for friends, or I'm doing a small video series for Ideas Inc. on, I can never pronounce the street they're on, but that little sort of like incubator. Mm-hmm. And we're just doing like a mentorship series for them. So like just small stuff. EverLine really takes all my time. So, but I love it when I get a chance to actually do it because we get there's not a lot of creativity in line painting, believe it or not. So getting to do something like photos or video, I know it's shocking. I know
So
you
shocked.
think those lines,
Straight.
they
Dash.
so straight, yeah.
Yellow,
Spray
white.
it. Yellow, white, blue. It's pretty much it. It's pretty cut and dry. So, which is a beautiful part of it, but at the same time, yeah, it's
Like
nice
a good
to-
day is like a huge handicap sign painted on the ground, or do you even do that?
Oh yeah. If it's on the asphalt, we do it.
Do you ever freehand those? I'm just kidding.
No, I've seen videos though of guys like doing it with a little roller. It's way out of my realm. Yeah, we use
That's
stencils.
art.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, at that point it's art. What we're doing is just providing a service. At that point it's art. So maybe that is what I need to do. Start doing hand-rolled handicap stencils to work my creativity a little bit. Yeah, so it's more of just a hobby, and I basically just do enough work to feed the more gear. Basically,
Yeah.
it all just goes
Sort of
right
make
back
it
into more
justify
gear.
itself.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, when you look at like a $3,000 lens, you're just like, no way. But
Yeah.
if you're doing work that you put all that money aside, and that's like your camera gear fund, it's a nice way it's a lot easier to buy that kind of equipment, which in then turn maybe leads to a little more work, or who knows? Yeah,
sure.
It's kind of snowball.
Good way to justify the expense.
Exactly. Yeah, I've spent way too much money on it for not really making a lot of money on it. So
You're not the first.
no, and I won't be the last.
Yeah.
It sucks the end.
So you're also looking at, like, we were talking about like this like what we're doing, what we're building here, what we're experimenting with, and you're thinking about trying to do the same thing or something similar.
Yeah, podcast. I don't know if it'd be, well, actually, yeah, I guess so. Like, I am just fascinated by exciting people. I don't know, that could mean anything. Like, I'm really fascinated by like entrepreneurs, because I just love to get into their mind a little bit. I think the entrepreneurial mind is something else. So, but even just like musicians or just people doing cool things. And what I love about the podcast like platform is like, it'd be what I think's cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, there's not somebody telling me, you got to talk to this guy or that guy. It's like, no, I think this is cool. I'd love to chat to this person. So that's sort of my thought. Having said that, I've had mics on my desk for over a year now, and they're just collecting dust.
You know what? I think that's one of the hardest things for me. And when Matt and I decided to start doing this, it was so imperative that it was easy.
Yes.
Having mics on the desk is easier, but like we've had to discuss like a format and a process, and Matt already has the space.
Right.
You kind of have to remove barriers, because you guys are both busy. I'm busy. We all kind of get that it's super hard, especially when it's something that is uncomfortable. Like, this isn't exactly a natural thing for anybody to be doing.
Right.
Yeah. I think probably the generation after us, Gen X, probably not, or sorry, Gen Y, it wouldn't be such a big deal. Like, it's more and more natural, but I think anything that you can do to remove the barriers is probably key to get going.
I think that's really good advice, because that is what it is I look at the idea of it, and I love the idea, but it's the getting it started, like getting that ball rolling is what's really slowing me down. I'm like, oh, I don't have a space, or like I don't even, like, I'm at a point where I'm like, oh, I don't even have a table I could put these mics on. I don't have chairs. Like, what am I gonna do? Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's left for another month.
Like, our first one was just like, hey, we're going to do it. We set the time aside, and we got these mics after the third episode, and like the first ones were like a shotgun. Audio is kind of shitty, and it's like, hey, we're gonna do it, and we put them online right away too. So it's like they're on, like, kind of buried in the internet. We didn't promote it or anything. It's like,
but they're there.
They're there. We didn't have a show name, and we're like, we'll just do it.
Yeah.
Then we did another one.
Yeah.
And then another one. And then we're like, okay, let's do this every Tuesday. And why don't we do two at the same time? Because then I only have to set up once for every two.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
And we tried doing 3 last week, and that was aggressive. That's
probably a lot.
Like,
hey?
Yeah, fried at the end of that.
It's mentally.
That last person's kind of getting the short end of the stick. You're just like, oh.
I think we did good. It's just like, maybe the desire to do it was, it's like I was ready to be
dwindling.
Yeah, it was like 11:10 when we finished up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little
You finish work and then you come down and do this.
And do 3 hours of interview podcasting. Yeah.
And it's funny, like I think, you know, we're still chasing a moving target too, because I'll tell you, a lot of the time it turns out that once it's done, you start recounting like what just happened or like, you know, talking about like, oh, that went so well, and sort of unpacking what just happened. Mm-hmm. And a few minutes into that conversation, you're like, oh man, this was all gold. Like everything that we just said, like this is what the podcast should have been. You know what I mean? Like it's silly. It's like when I have regular conversations with people, I'm like, oh, this is the gold content. This is what would be so great to be recording and to be keeping. And I guess it's like I'm quickly realizing how difficult it is to actually capture that. Like once you're in a structured format.
Yeah. I think that just takes time.
Yeah, I think so.
I think, yeah, like as you progress, I think you'll probably forget that this and this is all here, and
I think even
just get back to a conversation.
Yeah, after the first 10 minutes, I think it's like that time for that to fade away has been getting less and less, but
get the rhythm.
I feel like there's this other art too, where it's like when you come in here, so like we didn't meet till today, and
right.
I knew enough about you to have a conversation and pick your brain because I'm curious. And it's like, I gotta be careful not to engage yet. Like
the interview skill, you mean, like to not jump
I don't want to
in
ruin anything or start too soon. Maybe part of that's because like, I feel like if we talk about it before, we might not actually talk about it later. Even though that might have been the best piece.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a craft for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and doing it twice, that's another part of that, right? Like we can talk, like before we started talking about, like I just needed a little bit more background.
Yeah.
But then I basically tell you to shut up because I don't want you to say too much because I'm like,
yeah,
because it's gonna be boring for me the next time, and I'm super selfish, and this whole thing is about me anyways. And so I don't want, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to hear it twice because I won't be able to fake that I'm interested the second time because I don't care anymore.
Right.
Ridiculous.
You made it. He made a joke last week because one of our two guests kind of crossed paths as they were coming and going, and they knew each other. Then they were catching up, and I was like, and Dustin's like, just stop it. And then I was like, and I think at the end I was jokingly not joking. I was like, okay, we're gonna kick you out of here because like. It was already happening, and then we got free food from Odd Couple, and like so then they were eating, so we could start yet anyway, and I was like, okay, yeah. Guests can't overlap, and
he's
so
scared to
funny.
lose a little bit of that, or it just won't come up again. But
well, especially like the people that we're having on here, like everybody is conversational by nature.
Right.
It's the reason that we're doing it.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, what do you do? I'm gonna do this. What do you do? Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. Mm-hmm. Shut up. No.
No.
So the joke was like, we're kind of joking about it, but not joking. It was like, Justin's like, can you just, that thing you said earlier, just, can you just say that now? Like, can you just say that now?
Yeah, just bring that back. Yeah, bring it back.
Can you just, whatever you said there.
With the same energy and flair that you had the first time. You know, when it was original and new to everybody in the room.
Just when you hadn't said it before.
Just like you did before.
Say it like you mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would say even like us not making these things like readily available to our loved ones who are the most judgiest of all of the people that would judge me, or at least they could hurt me more, the people that
stings
know.
A little more when it comes from somebody. Yeah,
for sure. I've already been invited into a group chat with a couple friends of mine who are looking for the rest of the episode so that they can critique and help me. You know what I mean? So like
everybody's an expert.
I am an expert because I listen to a lot of podcasts. So
I told him, I was like, your ammo can be back to these guys who are harassing you. Invite them on the show and see how quick they
see how
decline.
They do. Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe if they come great.
Yeah, then you give them a little critique.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you say that again, but like better and more confident, please?
We're going to have to cut about 90%.
Pronunciate.
what came across there.
We have really great mics here, but even the mics can't catch that. A little louder, please. A little more. No, I think, yeah, it's like you said, like anything, it's a repetition, and it's like, yeah, make it easy, make it sustainable. Like we're trying to do that now with the process of what we're doing here, like figuring out how we divvy up the work, and then who's gonna do what can we automate, or what can we sub out to other people, and like how can we get help. And what's worth the energy and what isn't. So
right, you just ease that barrier to entry a little bit.
Yeah.
Take some things off your plate.
Yeah. So
I think too. So you said you do it every Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think having a schedule very important.
Did
Don't
you
ever play that?
Did you book in yourself, or did you do it?
No,
for
I
him?
did it. I did it
He sent you
myself.
the link?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was very impressed. You guys have a calendar system. I was like,
So
damn,
I
what
think-
am I walking into?
I think that was another
Shit's
thing too.
legit.
Well, okay, because like with this, it's like we have like so many people we talk to. It's like, hey, you'd be great to have on, but then I gotta like pull out a calendar, look who's on the list, to ask Dustin or double check or whatever. It's like, no, we need like a set time. Like so, next week I pre-booked off just because it's Easter break for my kids and
Right.
stuff.
Yes.
But it's like that's already there. So it's like ground rules are like, we'll be there, we'll show up. And then if you want someone on, like you can literally just send the link to whoever.
Yeah, and that's what it was. Is you just sent me the link, and I was in Calgary for doing some training actually, and I was sitting on a couch drinking a beer, and it was just like within 2 seconds I was signed in, and I was like,
Yeah.
guess where it go.
And it loads it into
Cool.
our calendars.
Right.
And just like, I don't know.
Technology.
Yeah, and like, removing barriers, making the habit. And I think actually doing it together, I would have probably maybe stalled out already if it was just me. Like, because I would.
It's kind of like going to the gym. You want to have a workout partner that's going to drag you to the gym when you don't want to go, and
Totally.
vice versa.
Yeah. And also like, it's really like, I don't know. I find that any dead air it feels toxic. I'm sure it isn't. Like, I'm sure it's no big deal, but like it just feels that way.
Like you're talking like, if an idea kind of ends and we don't have the next question.
Yeah, and so definitely, Matt's a crutch for me, because it
Pops in
when I'm like, oh, I'm done with thinking. I just need to breathe now for a couple minutes. Like, Matt's gonna come up with something.
Right.
So yeah, but man, this is a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that we're doing it, and who knows, like there's zero expectations. And I think that's like
key, I think.
I think it's really important to just be like, I'm doing this as much for like a personal exercise as I am for it being a great excuse and a great reason to actually just have these conversations.
Yeah,
and
that's
to do
the exact reason I want to do it. It's just I'm curious. I would want to learn.
Seems like
more.
very similar. Like,
And it's like a really cool way to get somebody to sit down and chat with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that they wouldn't without a podcast, but I think with the podcast, it's a little bit more likely. And then you've captured it too. You can re-listen to it. You can, it's a cool platform.
Are you a fan of Gary Vaynerchuk?
I was actually watching some of his stuff today. I don't know how. I just stumbled across him on Instagram as it happens on the gram. And I like what he says. I think his message is very strong, but he's a maniac.
Yeah.
Dude's wild.
Somebody said to me a while ago that there was like Gary V is really good for people that are either just getting started or are looking for that kick in the ass to get started. But it starts to lose, like some of the value and some of the content isn't so relevant or important because it's likely already being implemented in businesses or in people that are a few years into it or a couple years into it.
Yeah, I agree. I think as a like motivator, I don't know if there's anybody better, really. Like, I mean, you could look at like a 10-second clip on Instagram like I saw today. I was like, I better get my shit together. But you know what I mean? Like I
Put
think
that beer down.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not drinking anymore. I gotta focus. I work 18 hours a day.
Awesome.
But I think as an early like startup motivator or something like that, phenomenal. Like I think his message is solid, and he just tells you to stop being lazy, basically, which we could all use a little bit of. But after a while, it starts.
I agree.
I think what it is the same message. all the time.
All
so
the
it
time.
only matters if you're in the rut.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah, and I think when you are in that rut, fantastic. He'll pull you right out and send you towards the moon.
And apparently he's worth like 160 million. Like it's actually
He's
working.
credible. Yeah.
Like it's working for him.
Yeah.
And like I guess for me, like on the outside looking in, it's like what exactly about it is actually earning him the money? Like I know he's invested in different companies and things and apps and you know, like, but
is it a marketing company? I don't know.
that's what I don't even know. I haven't dug super
well,
deep.
I know he got his start like starting on like wine online retailer, like for his dad's wine company or something like that, and then just exploded into like Gary V Media or whatever.
With a YouTube TV channel or show.
Everything.
Yeah.
You can't go anywhere and not see that guy.
Yeah, I'm sure at the end of the day, like his agency or whatever his thing is, like it has to be tied to him, right? Like he's a personality.
Yes, big time.
Like he's the product.
Yeah.
So if I don't want a strategy, if I'm hiring their agency, I don't want a strategy that doesn't include Gary V either in front of the camera endorsing or like somehow like in the credits as an investor or something, you know what I mean?
Just
like
somewhere sprinkled in.
Yeah.
Because he carries the weight for that operation for
people
sure.
trust him, so
Yeah.
But cool. Well, I don't know what else. What haven't we covered? What do you like? We have a huge audience. It's growing by the day.
By the ones.
And what an awesome
good.
opportunity for you to have a great platform to tell us a little bit more about your company and like who it's for, and anything else that maybe you like. If there's anything else that you want to share or tell us about.
I don't have much else to say. I think we dug into it really well.
Where could we find your photography and video?
Almost Classy is my, which I'm thinking about transitioning to Almost Classy Media as I change out, and that's I sort of want to do something with that with the podcast as well too. It's almost.classy though. There's some dinky band in California that's got Almost Classy. I'm coming for them.
Mother uckers.
Exactly. I'm coming for them. EverLineCoatings.com, that's the website for line painting, but I don't think that's a pretty niche deal. Unless you're a property manager, I'm your guy. Otherwise, so. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been a blast. I can't believe we've powered through 50 minutes already.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man.
Yeah.
It's
great to chat.
Best of luck with it as it continues.
Cool. Yeah.
One by ones.
Yeah. Right on.